This MacBook Pro 14-inch M4 has been my main machine ever since it launched. I shelled out $2,000 for it, but then Apple unveiled the M4 MacBook Air at half the price. I've used both Pro and Air models plenty, so today I want to break down what actually sets them apart, see how the M4 Air compares to my base M4 Pro, and figure out the real question. Is the year-old M4 Pro still worth buying in 2025, or should you just grab the new M4 Air? I've had a serious love-hate thing going on with my M4 Pro, if I'm being honest. On one hand, I really dig all the upgrades. On the other hand, my wallet still hasn't forgiven me for dropping that chunk of cheddar so quickly. If I'd gone with MacBook Air back in the day, and even now, maybe my bank account wouldn't be glaring at me so much. In the end, it's all about money and performance, right? Especially since Apple has slashed the Air's price down to $1,000, and that's pretty awesome when you're getting 16 gigs of memory, 256 gigs of storage, new color, and the latest M4 chip. My Pro MacBook runs me about $1,000 more, and what do I get for that extra $1,000? An extra 6 gigs of unified memory, a slightly bigger screen, better speakers, and of course way more horsepower. Or at least, that's what Apple wants you to think. But we'll circle back to that. First, let's talk about my day-to-day experience. By now, you probably know my workflow in your sleep, video editing, researching ideas, writing scripts, tweaking photos, plus some casual 3D or animation. Then there is the usual stuff, watching movies, jamming out to music, churning through docs. It's the same old story. All in all, saying this machine was lacking would be a lie. After moving from a 16-inch MacBook to this 14-inch full-time, I've loved having something more portable, if you can call it that. This baby weighs a ton for its size. The aluminum chassis is sturdy, but it doesn't exactly scream lightweight, especially compared to the Air. I want to break down my experience into things I notice every day, things I've gotten used to, and stuff I really don't care about. Starting with the last one, I don't care about the upgraded webcam. Sure, it's got a better sensor and center stage, but when I'm on a video call, I'm not watching myself, and let's be real, others probably aren't either. So it's basically a throwaway feature for me. Because for calls, when I want people to see me in full quality, I just plug in an external webcam. This one, to be precise, it's OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite, a small but very capable thing. While the MacBook's webcam tops at 1080p, this one can do 4K, and you can see all the details of my face. That big half-inch CMOS sensor really keeps things crisp. Even when my room lighting gets weird, the video still looks clear. The coolest thing that makes it really worthy replacement to the built-in webcam is the AI tracking. I can move around a lot when I talk, and it's nice not to worry about drifting out of the frame. The camera just follows me, zooming in and out. It's also good body part tracking and can follow my hands, for example, and I can set a zone of the frame for it to lock on. It also has presets built in. I have one in portrait mode and one in landscape mode. The dual microphones have adjustable noise cancellation. There's gesture controls. I can wave my hand to make the camera track me or command it to zoom in. I'm telling you, it's packed with stuff. Even the focus here is quite advanced for a webcam, PDAF or dual pixel focus. There's also a beauty mode that I personally used only a few times when I wasn't looking too well for a call. And there's even a small privacy feature that lets you tilt the camera down or put it in sleep mode when I'm done. And it works great with Stream Deck, supports OSC protocol, and even has an SDK. And with all those advanced features, the Tiny 2 Lite is probably the most hassle-free external webcam I've used.
By the way, the OBSBot spring sale is underway and can grab up to 22% off OBSBot products with our exclusive promo code.
I will leave a link in the description, be sure to check it out. Moving on to things I've really gotten used to, starting with the improved display. In my first month, I was super excited about how much brighter it could get. Serious, I was pumping up the brightness slider like it was a new toy, but as the weeks rolled on, I stopped noticing. The truth is, I mostly work at home with just a few overhead lights, so glare isn't really an issue, but one definite change is that I almost never reach for the brightness up key anymore. In the past, especially when I was filming, I'd crank the brightness to the max and even use Vivid to squeeze out more nits of shine. Now I practically leave it alone because the screen's bright enough by default. As for power and performance, it's landed in the same I'm used to zone whenever I'm not editing video or messing around with 3D. Simple tasks don't gobble up much horsepower, but first, I still noticed how snappy everything felt. Apps opened in a flash, files loaded in no time. Today, it just feels normal. Apple's on-device intelligence is in the same boat. I don't use it daily, but when I do, that extra RAM and processing speed definitely earned their keep. Everything is just faster and more responsive, though after the initial whoa moment, I treat it like background magic. This is a big reason the M4 lineup catches my eye. It shares the same neural engine and performance cores as this Pro, meaning everyday tasks, AI features, and so on would be nearly identical. It's only the memory difference that could matter if you really push your system. However, there are those times when I need genuine muscle, and that's where this Pro still blows me away. It can handle demanding Pro apps like a champ. Sometimes it feels unreal how quickly it chews through workloads. Okay, maybe I'm going a little overboard, but hey, that's how much I appreciate the raw power. In any video editing software, the timeline stays smooth, renders don't drag on forever, and even previews with effects enabled run clearly. And trust me, I do toss some pretty sizable files at it, so for heavy-duty tasks, I'm still impressed. Honestly, I doubt the MacBook Air can keep up in these performance-heavy scenarios. It packs fewer CPU and GPU cores, less memory, slower storage, and crucially, no active cooling. I've owned every MacBook Air except the M4. Let me tell you, they can heat up in no time. Once that happens, throttling kicks in hard, and it's rough. The system slows to crawl, random beach balls pop up even with simple tasks, and animations turn into a stuttering mess. And trust me, it's no fun when your laptop starts lagging out of nowhere. Apple can brag all they like about the M4 being way ahead of the M3, but having owned the M3 Pro and currently using the M4 Pro, I can tell you the gap isn't massive. It's there, and you will notice it, just not as dramatically as you might hope. So yeah, the M4 MacBook Air will outperform every earlier version, but don't expect game-changing power. Heavy-duty video editing is still too much, 3D work is no-go, and coding, let's just say it's not exactly smooth sailing. You will still see it struggle in bigger, more complex projects. The Air is still built for simpler tasks, even though the bar keeps inching higher each year. The M2 Air was pretty hopeless at pro-level work, the M3 got a bit better, and the M4 is clearly building on that. So the big question is, which one should you actually get? The answer is more tangled than either of us would like, since it all hinges on your own day-to-day needs. The same logic goes for deciding whether to buy the M4 Pro, but here, you also have to consider which Mac you're currently using. And trust me, it really matters what you've got right now. Let's say you've been using the M1 MacBook Air since 2020, and now it's starting to feel a bit old. Your daily routine is pretty standard. You answer work emails, handle documents, browse the web, and wind down with a movie in the evening. That's a totally normal workload. In this situation, there's zero need to spring for a MacBook Pro, unless you've got a huge work bonus burn a hole in your pocket. Honestly, all that extra power will just sit there idling. Sure, you do get a much better display for movie nights and richer speakers, but if it's going to cost you another grand, you'd probably be better off grabbing a great new TV and watching your movies there, or maybe an iPad if you don't already own one. If you're currently using an M2 MacBook Air with only 8 gigs of memory, I'd say the M4 Air is the logical next step. Sure, it's a minor spec bump, but trust me, you will notice that extra memory, the improved webcam, and all the other little perks. Honestly, no need to jump to the MacBook Pro yet. The move from 8 gigs to 16 gigs is way more helpful than people realize. And finally, if you own any generation of MacBook Air or an M1 Pro MacBook and you genuinely feel like it's running out of steam, only then should you consider the M4 Pro, like the one I'm currently using. It's a super powerful machine, and all that horsepower is best put to real use. Overall, I can't recommend this MacBook Pro enough. It's fantastic in basically every way, but you'll only see that huge boost if you're upgrading from noticeably slower chips. M1, M2, M3, or M1 Pro. If you've got an M2 Pro or M3 Pro, don't even think about making the jump. Now, how should you configure your new MacBook Air or MacBook Pro? Let's start with the Air. The base $1,000 model gives you 10 CPU cores, 8 GPU cores, 16 gigs of memory, and 256 gigs of storage. For an extra $100, you can add 2 more GPU cores, bringing the total to 10. For $200, you can upgrade to 24 unified memory, and for another $200, you can push that up to 32 gigabytes. But honestly, these add-ons aren't very useful. Extra GPU cores will just make the laptop run hotter, and most folks will never need that much memory. The only worthwhile upgrade is storage. For $200 more, you get an additional 256 gigs, bring your total to 512. At around $1,200, that's already a terrific everyday laptop. But if you tack on too many upgrades, you might as well jump to M4 MacBook Pro for $1,600. What's interesting about this M4 MacBook Pro I'm using is that every year, people ask the same thing. Is it worth buying? And every year, we give the same answer. Yes, as long as you know exactly what you need. If you are uncertain or can afford to wait, this might be one of those times to hold off for another 6 months until the M5 models drop. That's how Apple devices roll. Any product that gets frequent updates is only worth buying during the first half of its release cycle. After that, it usually makes more sense to wait for the next iteration. So with this MacBook Pro, you've still got a few months before it's probably wiser to wait for the M5. But hey, if you manage to grab one at a hefty discount right now, who am I to stop you? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.